In this video we are going to be making a double barrel shotgun. For this project you'll need some old tongue and groove cladding or any other pine that's about this thin. Plywood, you don't need this much. A bolt, some nails, they should be around this thin. Also 3 cable ties, panel pins, metal tubing. You can have plastic tubing if you want as well. It's for the barrel. Metal obviously looks the nicest, as long as it's a sensible diameter on the inside. You'll also need wood for the stock. We'll also need some wood like this to go under the barrel. Tools you will need are a hacksaw, a hammer and a saw, normal saw. You'll also need a drill. The first thing we're going to do is cut our barrel to length. You can have it any size you want, as long as you leave enough room on your pipe for 2 barrels, unless you want a single barrel, but yeah. I choose to have mine stored off. You should end up with some barrels looking a bit like this. To make this section where the barrels sit on, you need to get wood that is that wide, that thick, and relatively long. It's important that you cut one end 1 centimetre in and 3 centimetres across to create this effect, and also sand it like that and cut it to create a smooth underside. Okay, once you've made the first 2 pieces, just put both barrels on top, like so, and use a cable tie. Well, use all 3 cable ties to secure the barrels on, and then you can fold the cable part on the inside like that. Once you've assembled it, then you need to drill a 6mm hole, roughly in the same position as this, just wide enough so your bolt can get through. The next step is using your saw to cut the stock. This can be any shape you like. You can go for the basic stock shape by just cutting across there, or you can go for a more complicated stock shape like that and sanding it down to create a nice effect. Now the next thing to do is to get your cladding, tongue and groove or any pine, and just get rid of this section here. You can use old blunt scissors or a saw. Then once you've done that, cut it directly in half. Cut your pine in half, put that aside for the minute. Use your plywood and cut 10 centimetres long and 1.5 to 1 centimetre wide, and cut 2 lengths of 10 centimetres. Also, once you've cut the 2 10 centimetre by 1 or 1.5 lengths, then cut them down to 2 5 centimetres on each one. So you'll end up with 4. You should end up with 4 5 centimetre lengths like this. What you need to do to 2 of the lengths is drill a very small hole, just wide enough for your nail to go through, and drill it exactly dead centre 1 centimetre down. With the other 2 lengths, drill a very small hole again, exactly 1.7 centimetres down, dead centre. We're now going to cut both your lengths down to 15 centimetres long. Now put holes in your pieces of pine exactly where shown on the screen. Firstly, nail in the first slat about 4 centimetres into the stock. Make sure the holes are that way around. Once that's done, we're going to then push the first nail right through. And then we need the piece with a centimetre down, and we're going to push it on, and push on both pieces like that. Once you've pushed the nail through, put on the 2 trigger sections, which are the pieces with the hole 1.5 centimetres down. Push them on right next to each other. Once that's all on and the 2 trigger pieces are on, push the second nail through. And then get the other 2 pieces and stick them on that way. That's all on, just put the second cover over it, and that's the action section of the gun, and panel pin it down. Now the last part to this is very simple. You just have to push this in here, get your bolt, line it up and push it through and tighten it very tight. Now we have the finished double barrel shotgun. Keep on watching to see how the shell. Making the shell, we will need some paper, scissors, 6mm pen tube with a smaller end, this comes off a mechanical pencil, and some party poppers. You will also need some sellotape and soup. I'm modelling my shell roughly to a real shotgun shell, so it'll be 8 cm long, and we're going to cut paper all the way up the centre like that. You cut the paper to length, cut the pen tube, so from this end to however wide the paper is, cut it off. I'm not going to use scissors, I'll go and use something else to cut it because I might. Once you've rolled up the first piece, get some tape and tape it down. And then what we're going to do is attach another piece and roll it up, and so on until you get it the exact thickness of one of your barrels in the shotgun, so it'll push in tightly and snug but not so tight or too loose. Right, once you finish your shell and sellotaped everything up, you might have a problem where the inside can move around a bit. You don't want that, so if you just get your super glue and dribble some down all of the gaps, when you leave it to set, it shouldn't move anymore. The next step is to get the insides of a party popper out. Just cut off the end, pull out the centre. Now what you need to do is thread the string down and push it out the other end. The last 2 steps are to tie some wool on the end to make it a longer string, and also push a desired amount of BBs down the barrel. You can always use grease to get them to stick so they don't fall straight back out. Once you've finished all that, use the string and wrap it round and round, leaving it this side so it's straight, and your gun's ready to fire.